See, have you ever felt a dream just die? Like the world is actively shoveling dirt onto the deepest desires of your heart. Maybe it was a betrayal that knocked the wind out of you, or a setback that made the future that you prayed for feel like a cruel joke. You work, you believe, you give your all, and for what? To end up further behind than when you started? If you are in that place of questioning, of heartbreak, of wanting to just give it all up, this post is for you. Because in that very moment of despair, the biblical figure Joseph was right there with you. Over the next 5 parts of this post, we're going to walk through his incredible journey from a pit of betrayal to the pinnacle of power. He is living proof that you can be betrayed, sold, forgotten, and falsely accused and still see your destiny come to pass. His story is the ultimate guide to perseverance. And if he can move from a literal pit to the palace of the most powerful man in the world without dropping his destiny, then so can you. Your comeback story is far too expensive, far too valuable to be abandoned now. So let's begin. Let's get brutally honest about betrayal. It's the starting point for so many abandoned dreams. The deepest wounds often come not from our enemies, but from those who should have been standing with us. Now picture Joseph. He's a confident, perhaps even arrogant 17-year-old. He's the favored son, wearing a coat of many colors that screams of his father's love and his own grand destiny. A destiny that he's seen even in his dreams, where even the sun, moon, and the stars bow down to him. But his own brothers, consumed with a venomous jealousy, see the dreamer and despise the dream. The coat doesn't just represent favor to them, it represents his arrogance and their own insecurities. So they whip the symbol of promise from his back, throw him into a dry well, and sit down to eat a meal while he begs for his life from the darkness below. Can you imagine the sheer terror and confusion? This isn't a stranger, but this is your own blood, his family, callously debating his fate before selling him into a caravan of traders for 20 pieces of silver, the price of a common slave. This is the pit, the place of absolute shock, where the bottom falls out of your world. It's the moment your partner leaves, your business partners cheat on you, or your closest friends gossip behind your back. It's a place of darkness and isolation. Drop a comment below if you ever felt thrown into a pit by someone you trusted, because you are not alone in that moment. Joseph had a choice: let the bitterness consume him and give up, or begin the slow, agonizing climb of perseverance. He's at rock bottom right here, and a beloved son turned into a human cargo. How can anyone possibly come back from this? That's where the real test begins. And in our next episode, we'll uncover what Joseph did when he had every reason to quit, but chose a different path. What happens when the pit is just the beginning of your pain? Welcome back, Joseph. Joseph has been ripped from his home and sold into slavery. He lands in Egypt, a foreign land, a piece of property. The pit was the betrayal, but now comes the true test of character. He could have become bitter. He could have cursed his fate and done the bare minimum to survive. But instead, he serves with such integrity and excellence in the house of the officer named Potiphar, and he's put in charge of the entire household. He's rising. It looks like things are turning around. His commitment to never give up is paying off. But then comes the second wave of the test, and this one might be even worse. He's falsely accused of assault by Potiphar's wife after he honorably rebuffs her advances. Wait a minute, he did the right thing, and he still ended up in a worse position with no trial, no one to speak on his behalf, and he's thrown into a royal prison. Another pit, another setback, another thick layer of dirt shoveled onto his dream. Most of us would be broken, screaming, "This isn't fair. I did the right thing, and this is what I get." It's the voice that says that integrity is for fools and a life of perseverance is a waste of time. Here at Burning Empowerment of Your Soul, we believe your tests are not designed to destroy you, but only to define you. Joseph kept operating with integrity, even in the darkness of a dungeon. Have you ever been punished for doing the right thing? Let me know how you handled it in the comments. This is where so many of us abandon our journey. He's in a dungeon, forgotten and forsaken after making the right choice. It seems like his destiny is dead and buried. But what do you do in that dark place? In the waiting, in what prepares you for the light? In our next portion of this post, we're going to break down the most critical season of all, the waiting. How do you keep your faith when God goes silent? Joseph is in a prison. He passed the test of integrity, and he's rewarded with a prison sentence. This is the season of waiting, and it is the hardest season of all. It's one thing to have perseverance and you're actively fighting, but it's another thing to keep believing when your life is one long silence from God, unchanging day after another. Joseph's story teaches us this difficult lesson. What you do in the waiting period determines if you'll be ready for the palace. He didn't succumb to despair. He understood, perhaps intuitively, that every season serves a divine purpose. As Ecclesiastes reminds us, to everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. Joseph lived this truth, even when it felt like a lie. He had to believe that his prison season had an expiration date, and his palace season was already penciled into God's plan. So what did he do? He got to work. He refused to let his circumstances, a prisoner, forgotten and failed, define his identity. He was so trustworthy that the prison warden put him in charge of all the other prisoners. He was leading, managing, and administrating from a jail cell. Then when Pharaoh's cupbearer and the baker were thrown into the same prison, Joseph, leaning on his God-given gift, interpreted their dreams. He was honing the very gift that will be his ticket out. Don't wait for the big stage to show your gifts. Using your gifts in your current season is the very thing that the God is looking for, your spirit to sharpen and your hope in keeping your hope alive. See, Joseph was proving his character long before his promotion. He's been faithful, but he's still a prisoner. It's been over a decade of suffering. Is his faithfulness for nothing? A forgotten man with a forgotten gift, or is it? The next part reveals the moment everything changes. Get ready for the divine pivot. See, for two full years after interpreting the cupbearer's dream, Joseph languished in this prison. The one man who could have secured his freedom forgot all about him. The waiting dragged on. This is the final exam of perseverance, the point where you feel you've been completely forgotten about. But then it happens. Then it finally happens. Pharaoh has two terrifying dreams that no magician or wise man in Egypt could interpret. Suddenly, in a panic, the cupbearer remembers the Hebrew man in the prison. In a rush, they shave Joseph and bring him out of the dungeon. In a breathtaking instant, he goes from the stench of a jail cell to a perfumed air of royal courthood. He stands before the most powerful ruler in the world, not as a groveling prisoner, but as a confident vessel of divine wisdom sent by God. He doesn't take credit, but he says, I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer that he desires. He then interprets the dreams of 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of devastating famine, and lays out a detailed administrative plan to save the entire nation. From prisoner to prime minister in a single conversation. How is that even possible? This is the divine pivot of God. It wasn't some random stroke of luck, but it was the direct result of 13 years of unseen faithfulness. In a breathtaking moment, Pharaoh looks at the former slave, this forgotten prisoner, and says, can we find anyone like this man? One in whom is the Spirit of God. He takes off his signet ring and puts it on Joseph's finger, dresses him in fine linen, and declares him second in command over all of Egypt. What a pivot! Are you believing for it on your own life? You need to declare it. Declare it in the comments below. Joseph now has power, wealth, and authority beyond his wildest dreams. But the story isn't over. The ultimate test is yet to come. What will he do when the very people who threw him in the pit show up at his feet begging for help? That's what we'll uncover. We'll see next. That moment is so powerful in this episode because this is the victory moment. Welcome to that final chapter of Joseph's journey. Years have passed. The famine Joseph predicted had ravaged the land. And who should appear in Egypt, desperate for food? His 10 older brothers. They are brought before him, this powerful Egyptian ruler, and then they bow down to him, their faces to the ground, fulfilling his dream that sparked their jealousy all those years before. They had no idea that it's Joseph in front of them. After a series of tests to gauge their character, Joseph can no longer contain himself, and he reveals his identity. And his brothers are paralyzed with terror. The man they sold into slavery now holds their very lives in his hands. This is the moment of victory, but now not in the way that we expected. But it isn't about revenge, but it's about redemption. Joseph, looking back at the arc of his life, the pit, the slavery, the prison, and the promotion, says one of the most powerful lines in Scripture. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. That is the ultimate victory. It's looking at your deepest wounds and seeing them as a part of a divine plan. So how do you get the victory mindset? First, document your micro wins. The journey of destiny isn't one giant leap, but it's 1,000 small, faithful steps. Did you get out of bed today? When depression tried to keep you down? That's a win, and write it down. Evidence breeds endurance. Second, declare the promises of God out loud. Faith comes by hearing, and sometimes the person who needs to hear it most is you. Your critics, your setbacks, and your failures, your current struggles, they are all just raw material in the hands of a redeeming God. He doesn't waste a single tear on unfair situations, but he recycles them all for your good. Your destiny isn't fragile, it's fireproof. It survives the pit, it endures prison, it withstands betrayal and outlasts delays. It is being forged in the very fires that were meant to destroy you. This entire journey, this incredible model of perseverance, proves that you must never give up. Straighten up your spine, dry your eyes. The work you are doing in the waiting is not in vain. Your suddenly is loading right up now. So hold on, stay connected, join us. It was sent by email, empoweryoursoulblogseries@gmail.com, and on YouTube at Burning Empowerment of Your Soul, and also on Facebook, Empower Your Soul, and yes, our website, www.burningempowermentofyoursoul.com. So don't just hustle, build leverage, live with purpose, and step into your breakthrough. And until next week, I'll see you again, 12 p.m., and God bless.